To geek out, right?
Yes.
This morning, we're in for a treat because he's standing by with a Northern California native who is now a comic book writer.
Yes, Miles Greb joining us right now. Miles, the name of your new comic book is?
After the Gold Rush.
After the Gold Rush. We have a mutual friend that we were talking on the line and everything, and she was showing me your work, and I was like, this is fantastic. So After the Gold Rush is set where?
It's set in Northern California in Butte County. It starts up around Orville, Table Mountain, Feather River area. Then it starts going north, and it touches the Sacramento River and starts heading towards the middle of America a bit. But it's mostly set in Butte County.
That's really interesting. Now, you grew up around here, so was that part of the thought? You wanted something you were familiar with?
Sure. So, I grew up watching like Star Trek and Cosmos and like this kind of science fiction that's really like positive and uplifting. And so when I went to write my own story, I wanted to do that, but I also wanted to touch it back to where I grew up, the fields, the valleys, the rivers. And I kind of love that frontier aspect, the whole westward trail thing. We learned a lot about that in school, so I wanted to kind of combine those two loves into the story, and I think that's what I've done.
It is beautiful. The artwork is lovely. I really think the artwork's lovely. Okay, so the story, it's set in the future, right? And there's been some sort of disaster, or I don't want to give away too much. You tell me all about it. Okay.
Sure. So it follows Scout, and she's the last scientist, and she returns to Earth to find it in a state of wilderness. But it's not post-apocalyptic. The world is very lush. It's very beautiful. But science has been traded away. You don't know what happened yet. Well, I know, but the readers don't know. Yeah. And so the story is about her trying to discover what that is and return science to the world.
Okay. I got it. I got you now. You have a science background. You're really into science. That was the other thing. You were one interesting cat, man. That's why I wanted to talk to you. So let's talk a little bit about how you grew up with science and your thoughts on science and everything, and why you decided to incorporate that into comics.
Sure. So, like when I was young, my mom would always bring me to the library, and it started, I'd get books on like Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot, right? Things that we, of course, know aren't very scientific. But it led me to be very curious and learn a lot about history and biology, and that started teaching me about things that are in the real world. And so I got my first little microscope, and I'd go to the pond we had in the field, and I tried to catalog the animals that were there. I thought I was finding new things, because we didn't have the internet. I couldn't Google them. But that kind of gives me a lifelong fascination with science and all that it can do for us, and curiosity. And I also, a few years ago, helped organize the March for Science, which was a national and international organization.
Yeah.
And I'm actually wearing my shirt from it right here.
Oh, nice.
This is Australopithecus, which is one of the most romantic and beautiful humanid species that we've found, because you can actually see a lot of humanity in it, even though it's 3.2 million years old.
That is amazing. This is not your first comic book. You also have a series of them. Can we all get them on your website, all your different books?
Yeah, so afterthegoldrush.space is my website, and you can check out After the Gold Rush there. I have 5 issues so far. You can pre-order the big collected edition. And I also have my paleontology comic, Clovis, which is set in North America 14,000 years ago. That details some of the first people that ever lived in North America, the Clovis. And it's a scientifically accurate look at the region. You can see all the megafauna, woolly mammoths, giant sloths. Horses actually used to be native to North America, and you can see them in here as well.
Very cool. I cannot wait to pick up Clovis, man. That's really interesting. Miles, thanks for joining us. And then let us know when you get new projects and stuff. You are an interesting dude, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one. All right. Back to you, Court.